Morning, everybody. Thought I'd give a bit of an update while I'm out here, as I know over the last, since YouTube took down its video editor, I hadn't really put up regular videos at all. It's because I haven't had a way to take numerous videos and put them all together in a reasonable way. I'd found some programs to kind of let me manage a little bit, but none of them worked too well. But now that I have my phone for the PCT, I have some good options for basic video editing apps. So, I just know I haven't been doing much in the way of updates lately. So I thought while I was out here in a little bit of a more isolated area in the park, I'd just give a rundown of what's been going on lately. So, for one, I'm out on Newton Road in Forest Park, one of our favorites. It's a Monday, but, to preamble it, it's not been our best hiking month or so. It's been, just frustrating. So, as you've all seen in other videos, actually I suppose it depends, I probably described it, and if you watch my wife's videos, then you heard we were doing a backpacking trip on the Oregon Coast Trail, and she stepped in a totally invisible gopher hole that, she pointed out where it was afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, that's completely invisible. That just grabbed her heel and made her hyperextend her knee, and that made her fall, and the fall made her hyperextend her knee more. And so she's actually had so I was checking to make sure it's still recording. She's actually had a bit of a recovery to do. And part of the fun with some of those injuries is, it's really hard to tell if you've just minorly torn one of the cruciate ligaments, or if you've fully ruptured it. Usually, it's kind of hard to tell. And because she's not insured, means even just doing an MRI or other imaging to check the severity of damage would be hugely expensive, and if we did decide to do a repair, it would be very stupid expensive, because it'd be an out-of-pocket surgery. And, that's just not going to happen right now. We wouldn't be able to really do so. So where we're at is that she's had to recover for about a month and change before we got her back to starting to hike again at all, where we just started with some basic forest park miles, which she took with quite a bit of gusto after being stuck basically hiking for a month. During that, I did go do Hamilton Mountain in my first 15-mile day. Hamilton, for some reason, like I mentioned in the video, there doesn't seem to be a reason to, but it always just kicks my ass. Even though we do harder stuff, I just always seem to have a hard physical day when we do Hamilton. I think I was getting low electrolytes and was getting kind of sick. But got through it, and the 15-mile day actually felt really good. It was I was sitting there the whole day being like, I want to do 20, until the last mile where my feet really started hurting. But before then, really quite good. I'm going to show you some of the trail while I talk instead of just having to stare at my face, since it is actually quite pretty out here. So, as it is though, once her knee was recovering decently, and again, we don't know if she really ruptured something or not. I'm kind of leaning towards not. And I'm not going to go through kind of that whole backstory, because I'll just keep talking. But as most of you know, I know I work in rehab. I'm not a doctor, but I have some means to have a notion for it. And we've just been doing rehab work on it, getting her functioning better, working on balance and joint stability anyway. And just getting that knee as healthy as we can with some really good ligament repair, nutrient support, so food support. and just getting her back to it. But she did have a weird cold she had to deal with that was just kind of knocked her down. And then the following weekend I had it. And well, if we're lightly ill, we'll go do some hiking anyway. This was just not really tenable. So we've just kind of had a lot of things keeping us off trail. And we've been working on sleep in general as our main focus, more than probably anything else. Just because if I don't get good sleep, I don't lift, I don't do cardio. Like this last weekend, it actually stopped at some hiking. As I was just floored, I actually took a 2.5 hour nap, which I don't really do unless I'm sick. So it was a bit. So that's kind of, sorry for the delayed breathing, a bit of a hill while talking. But it's just been a harder month for us with hiking. It's just been, well, naturally frustrating just because it slowed us down quite a bit. But we're focusing on sleep. I would show them if I had them with me, but hadn't decided I was going to do a video until I'd already left the house today. But I've done a few things to try to work on sleep, and it's made a huge difference. So one is that we have 3 pets, and those are cats. They spend every night in the bedroom with us, which can be frustrating at times, but less frustrating than if we try to keep them out. It does mean there's a cat box in there, so we have to keep that really, really fresh for air quality. And we have a cat that recently realized somehow that he can slice open window screens. So it's messed with our airflow. And with 2 humans and 3 cats and a fairly small bedroom, we actually get low oxygen content, and it messes with sleep. So getting a whole system of fans to keep airflow going without our stupid cat managing to cut himself out of the room and get away. He's our escape artist. We've been able to get oxygen content up, which immediately added at least an hour of sleep and better quality. Sorry, I'm jumping around topics, but you all should probably be used to that by now. I grabbed some red glasses that block all spectrums except for deep red light. And they were a bit expensive, but you can get some that do that. I got some that fully block those spectrums, which I have to say, as the sun is setting and you look outside, makes it look like a weird apocalypse. It's pretty cool, to be honest. And I immediately noticed a better quality of sleep, where I was waking up less. I was just having a deeper sleep, less disturbed, less moving around, just overall better. And then on the air quality side, we have grabbed a really good quality air purifier for in the bedroom, and that immediately added an hour or 2 of sleep. Like, just huge. Woke up not congested, way better rested, not waking up during the night. I breathed through my right nostril for the first time in months. So it was just, we've been working on those sides. And at this point, the biggest obstacle we face is just actually making ourselves go to bed at a reasonable time. Like, the more tired we get, we just stay up and chill because we're tired, which makes us stay up later and get worse sleep and inconsistent sleep, etc. So it's just something so easy to fall into without noticing. So that's really where our focus is now. We've gotten a lot of these other things in line. Because as a little bit of background, I had 15 years of chronic clinical grade insomnia. We're talking 4 to 6 hours a night as like an average for like 15 years. With periods were better, they were worse. Even when I had good sleep, or at least good volume of sleep, I never felt anything but exhausted. And so it's always been a weakness, which is why you'll see in my PCT gear lists that I have some sleeping extras, like I have my inflatable pad, which I love. I'm probably going to get a thin Gossamer Gear pad that goes under it to protect it from needles in the desert. I have an inflatable pillow, so a little bit of extra weight, but you get an extra hour or two of sleep a night. It's worth it, let alone better quality and just comfort. Okay, I'm back. I paused it for a second. I heard someone kind of shouting off on another trail, and I wanted to listen and see what was going on and just get past it. When we're out in the middle of nowhere, someone talking on their camera is not a big deal. But when you're in the middle of Forest Park, people look at you funny. So, continuing on though, that's kind of the rundown when it comes to health stuff, at least a big part of it. I haven't really talked about it a whole lot, and I'm gonna, once I finish this, actually do a separate video on it, because I've just been meaning to for ages, where food-wise, I've been doing a ketogenic diet for, I don't know, I stopped keeping track a little while ago, but I'm gonna say like 9 months or so, which is the single best, most powerful thing I've ever done for my health. And I will go through a lot more details in that separate video, because there's a lot of myths and people just treating it like a unhealthy fad diet and stuff like that just, are basically getting their facts from the internet instead of any kind of science, and we'll go over it. But it means over the last 9 months I've lost about 40 pounds, which means I'm down like 60 something from my heaviest, which, well, it's crazy to look at the trail videos I've been putting up from last year and just go, my face is so much thinner. It's really kind of surreal for me. It's because I've never really lost more than 20 pounds in a go and had any ability to keep it off. And those were a long time ago. Or at least a few years at least. But as it is though, because the sleep issues have been so up and down, where I've had some periods of a few weeks in a row that were just kind of crap sleep, even though things are improving, it's just kept me off a lifting and endurance training schedule, where just 2 weeks off hiking for me, we went and did that 5 miles in Forest Park just to see how Chelsea's knee was doing. And I mean, she was hoofing it, but I still found it like weirdly effortful. So I'm dying to get back to training. But that's where we're at, is that sleep is really a big focus, and we're just not going to get to where we want to be before the trail for fitness and health. And one of the many benefits of doing the PCT is that I want to use it as a focus to make myself actually get healthy. Because I'm 31 now, and for a while I had a project that I was titling 30 by 30, which is just that I wanted to feel 30 by the time I got there, because I've spent my whole life feeling like a unhealthy 60-something-year-old man because of a wide range of issues that normally don't even happen to someone young, especially someone who's in the health field and actually does some of it, that knows better. So, I mean, I'm not going to say everyone in the health field is healthy. A lot of ways they're really not. But I'd say I've had the knowledge and just haven't been able to make it happen. And this year, I really have. Like, I'm in the best health I probably have been since I was 8, maybe, probably younger. As I've said before, my favorite food growing up that my parents made me was Eggo waffles with white and brown sugar and butter. And we find now the butter's fine, it's the rest of it that's shit. But back then it might have actually been margarine, so never mind. And, several sodas a day, Oreos every day, especially when my parents weren't looking. 5% fruit juice, high fructose corn syrup juice every day. Like, I just never stood a chance. And so it's been a road getting back, and mixed with any hormone issues from my brain injury a few years back, which again I'll qualify that with it was a minor TBI, like a class 2 concussion, but enough to potentially damage my pituitary gland and mess with my metabolism. So as it is, sleep is our focus, because it's the only way to get things fixed and get ready for the trail. I don't want to barely make it to Kennedy Meadows. I want to be able to enjoy it and let my body adapt and get stronger instead of just have it be a horrible, horrible struggle, which it will be, but, a better one. So back to where we are now. I know these updates are always like 20-minute videos because I just don't make them very often, and so I don't know if anyone else is going to listen to them, but at least it's a journal for myself. And while we're here, I do love Newton Trail. It's hard to really show on a video, but I really do love that it's this minor little forested ridge walk. I was going to jump from Newton to Wildwood and keep it really mild because I'm just feeling like someone popped me with a few Benadryl and just said, hey, keep going. But I feel like doing something a little bit more considerable. This weekend, like I mentioned, I took like a 2.5 hour nap. I was just out. There was no way we were going hiking. Saturday and Sunday was a friend's wedding, which was fantastic, but meant no hiking. So while Chelsea has to be at work, she's been pretty good about working out, so the impact is less on her. And my first appointment's at 5 o'clock, my Mondays have been gloriously open. Things tend to shift around, but I tend to be able to shunt a lot of my appointments over to like off of a day a week, so I can have a day to get stuff done and get out and do stuff like this, which means I'm going to get a few miles in and a decent amount of elevation. As far as Forest Park goes, Newton Road is, well, other than the first part, it's just all steadily or steeply up or down. Maybe no mountain, but it's noticeable. So my rambling is normal, but the fatigue is making it certainly continue. So where we're at right now is that what we were going to do this weekend was do like a something with a little bit of steepness in it. We did 5 miles initially for Chelsea, and the only time she had any noticeable discomfort was when she kind of stepped weird one spot, and that was just for a moment. So that was a fairly flat trail, and I wanted to see how she did on something with some elevation like BPA Road, or maybe this. And, just be able to, so to speak, clear her to get back to hiking as normal, where we would take the next hike to do more like 10 miles and still pretty mild, maybe the zoo to Marquam Shelter and back. That's about 10 miles roughly round trip, and this really pretty section of wood will still be not too crazy, because I am wanting to be careful with her knee and ankle for like slips and falls, and so I want to avoid kind of loose gravel and just stick with mud being the worst, and just to minimize any re-injury if something happens. And then the following weekend, do something with some decent elevation. Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain, maybe Silver Star Mountain. Frustratingly, I don't have a car that can get to Silver Star for Silver Star Trail or Ed's Trail, which has just been driving me nuts because it might be my favorite hike during wildflower season, and it's hard to justify the money to rent an off-road vehicle for the day, and I don't have one I can borrow, and etc., etc. Most of my friends either don't drive or don't hike. So as it is, though, that pretty well wraps it up. Is just that sleep's been an issue, working on that again. Chelsea's been injured, we were both sick, getting back to it, and that cold really lingered. It took weeks to feel like it was gone. Allergies have been a mess, but the air filter's been helping that dramatically. Like that's the main reason why I sniff so much on these videos, which drives me at least as nuts as it bugs any of you. And we're just getting back to a hiking schedule where we're making sure she's clear and good to go. And then it's just going to be continuing to scale. We need to get her back to a 15-mile, or like to a 15-mile day. And initially our goal for this year was 20 miles in a day. And seeing how easy 15 was for me with such an inconsistent beginning of the year for hiking, and for long days, she's a stronger hiker than me easily. She'll have stuff hurt, she'll have injuries happen, but at the end of the day, she'll typically feel better than I do and have less foot problems than I do, as long as there's not a fall or something. And since we're getting that side dealt with, 20 miles isn't going to be a problem for either of us, especially with weight loss going along. So the goals continue being South Sister, Mount McLaughlin, Timberline Loop, some several day thing in the Oregon desert. I gotta plan that out and figure that out. As many short 2-3 day backpacking trips as possible. And the mileage one is yet to be figured out. As far as 20 was the goal, and now I think really it's just going to be at least every 3 weeks, adding a mile or two. And by the time we go on our trip, that should mean that the single day mileage we do is going to be pretty considerable. And then it's just the backpacking side is where we'll get multi-day recovery times. We'll go, okay, let's do a good amount of miles, but several days in a row, since one day mileage is important. But making sure your body is trained to go, okay, we have to recover, because it's not just today, it's tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And so since I'm just doing a long video anyway, training plans for that is kind of manifold. Chelsea's taken on a new daily practice, which is pretty cool, and I'm trying to jump on it too. My sleep's just been really making it so it's been, well, hard for me to actually mentally get myself to do. I know, training, important, but where she started doing 4 flights of stairs in the morning, 4 in the evening, each week adding 1 to the morning and evening, so that by the time we hit trail, she'll be doing the equivalent of like 860 feet of added elevation gain every day with no breaks. And while that's not huge, just that day on day on day, on top of us doing leg lifting days, and on top of doing hiking in the weekends, etc., where it's going to happen unless, I'm sure days where we've summited a major Cascade Peak or we're out on trail, it's not going to happen, but otherwise it's a great way to go. And similarly, once we create a really good lifting foundation for both of us, a good just strength foundation, what we're going to do is, it's probably going to be at least 6 months from now, because I really want a solid strength base, skill base, rehab base, and sleep. There's a lot of people that will do, say, like a squat every day program where they will squat heavy every day. They do slight variations where it's a back squat, it's a front squat, their hand and foot position is different. So it's a little bit different, but it forces that recovery and layering strength. And we're not going to quite do that, but we're going to do progressive through hiker cadence lifting days where we're going to have, say, 9 days straight of high steps as a lifting routine where that's the primary focus. And there'll be 1 day off, and then we'll do 9 days again where maybe it will be heavy squats for 9 days, or maybe it will be deadlifts or something, but it will be leg dominant in the most appropriate ways possible, where we'll treat it like the heavy section or heavier sections on the PCT, where you might do 9 days before you take a 0 or even a Nero, depending. And I really want to work on that recovery side, and that'll be plus her stair climbs, etc. So we have some good stuff layered in the works for that. And it's just going to be, as long as we can work on sleep and get ourselves really really going for the, might as well stop and show you some of this. I know I'm just talking and not even paying attention to the camera, so I might be showing the sky or the ground the whole time, I don't know. But that's what we're looking at. As long as we can stay on a reasonable sleep schedule, that will be no problem. And I've already described the endurance training stuff before. I know I need to reshoot a dedicated video to showing you guys my renovated endurance training plan that I would have anyone going for the PCT do, or really just someone looking to make a beastly foundation of endurance with, again, this is not my techniques, really. This is just my approach using someone else's science, using decades of the most advanced science out there that I didn't do, but I like studying and research, which means we have Olympic athletes that are doing less science-backed, less effective programs. So it's something that can do a lot for your training. So that's enough meandering on. Again, this is as much of a journal and spoken out loud journal for me, or putting my thoughts out there verbally for myself just to think through it. But if anyone does happen to watch it, well, you deal with my rambling well. Good job. Get a cookie, or not, whatever works. And well, I still have a little bit of downhill here left. I'm going to try to describe the keto side, because I'm not going to be talking coming back up this thing. So I will see you guys momentarily if you switch from one video to the next. Cheers.